the microbes in there like to eat the garbage and they decompose it much quicker.
75% of the material that's brought from West Sacramento ends up actually going to fuel and power.
The goal, of course, is to recycle as much as possible.
Hey, I'm Sydney, and we've got some great information to share with you about curbside services here in West Sacramento. And I have a great group of West Sac students who are going to help me put this video together for you. So let's get started. You've probably seen the curbside containers and the big trucks in your neighborhood, but do you know how the curbside lineup works?
In West Sacramento, our curbside services include trash, mixed recycling, yard waste, and used motor oil. The containers need to be placed at the curb, a minimum of 2 feet apart from each other. Used motor oil is placed out with your yard waste container. We also have filter collection. All of our curbside carts are serviced weekly. They need to be placed at the curb by 6 a.m. the day of your service and be put back within 24 hours of your service.
Okay, gotcha. Let's take the curbside containers one by one. First up, garbage, also called trash. What goes in the cart and where does it all go when it leaves your house?
So we're starting here with our trash cart. Some examples of things you can put in your trash container would be wax-coated paper. This is something that we can't recycle because of that wax coating. Another one that's hard for people to remember is food-contaminated paper like pizza boxes. Once we get oil and cheese on that paper, it's not recyclable, so that would also go in your trash. Things like your fast food containers, your cups, styrofoam containers, that would all go in your garbage. Kitty litter, diapers, food waste, things like that. The goal, of course, is to recycle as much as possible.
You filled your garbage container with trash and wheeled it to the curb. Then, the waste management truck picks up the garbage. But where does all that trash go when it leaves your house? Let's tag along for the ride.
Once the garbage is picked up in West Sacramento, the trucks drive it out here to the landfill, and they drive it up here to this spot, and it gets disposed. The truck's empty right in front of the face, and then the big equipment, the compactor and the dozer, push the waste into the big pile of waste over there, and then eventually at the end of the day it gets covered. It used to be that we covered it with dirt every day, but that wastes a lot of space in the landfill. Most often it gets covered with a tarp. We also use other alternative daily cover, which means it's not soil. Instead of tarp, sometimes we use green waste, which is processed. It's just wood and grass clippings and leaves that gets processed through a piece of equipment. Most often, garbage, when it's buried, they encapsulate the garbage like putting it in a big plastic bag to keep it from decomposing and giving off gases.
At the Yolo County landfill, engineers like Linda and her team have created a cool, environmentally friendly bioreactor site that helps decompose all that garbage and captures the methane gases the garbage produces, which in turn is used to create clean energy to power homes in our area.
The bioreactor is a little different in that we add liquid and help it to decompose, because when you add liquid to it, the microbes in there like to eat the garbage and they decompose it much quicker. The microbes, they give off what's called methane. And, we pull that methane out and then we can burn it in engines and make electricity. From the whole landfill here, we collect enough electricity to make about 2 megawatts of power, which is enough for about 2,000 homes.
I didn't know there was so much to know about garbage, but now we both know. Next in the West Sacramento curbside lineup, recycling. Ever wonder what happens to all that stuff that goes into your curbside recycling container? Well, let's find out.
So we have a mixed recycling system here in West Sacramento, which means all of the recyclables can go in the same container. And it looks like we have a few good examples in here. Of course, all of your beverage containers, aluminum cans, plastic water bottles, glass bottles, also paper bags. This kind of a paper, we call that chipboard, that's recyclable, and that would be something like your cereal boxes, the Ziploc bag box, 12-pack container, cardboard, and also other types of plastic containers that have 1 through 7 on them. Well, we do encourage our residents to recycle as much as possible, but there are some things that we see in the recycling containers on a regular basis that aren't recyclable. A lot of times people make the assumption that all plastics are recyclable, and that's not the case. So we see things like plastic mini blinds or broom handles. things like that that just aren't recyclable. So we want people to focus on plastics that are recyclable, and a good way to decide that is look on the bottom or somewhere on the container and you'll see the chasing arrows. If you see that on your plastic, then it's a good bet that's recyclable and you can put it in your container. There is one exception to that rule. If you look on the bottom and you see a number 6 in those chasing arrows, that's going to be styrofoam or expanded polystyrene. That is one plastic that we are unable to accept in our program.
I know once all those recyclables get picked up from in front of my house, they go somewhere and get made into something new. But how's it all work? Well, our team of reporters went to the recycling center for an explanation.
Well, after we collect the material in West Sacramento, we bring it over here to Sacramento Recycling and Transfer Station, where it's sorted into the different products, different commodities. The materials are sorted into the glass, into plastic. There's also aluminum and tin, and they're sorted at different places along the line that allows that material to be baled out. And so at one portion along the line, they'll pull out just the aluminum. At another portion along the line, the glass will be broken and separated into its own product. Later on along the line, you'll have tin or paper or cardboard or plastic. Well, there's a combination of both mechanical methods and also human methods where the material is sorted into different products. So each step along the line, they sort a different product or a different commodity as it goes along. They become accustomed pretty quickly to seeing the material coming at them at a pretty high rate of speed and adjusting to the product as it comes along. If they're not properly prepared, they can end up even experiencing some motion sickness as they see the material coming at them at that speed. The material are baled into their own products and sent to the different manufacturers, which they then turn into new products.
New products? What do all those bales of recycled material get made into?
Well, I think most of the time they're made into a similar product to where they started. So usually your glass is going to turn into a new glass product, or your plastic may start out as a water bottle and may end up as another water bottle or another plastic product.
Wow, that's fun stuff. In addition to the material that goes into the mixed recycling bin, don't forget that used oil and used oil filters can also be recycled in West Sacramento.
And along with our yard waste, we have used oil collection. This is used motor oil collection. We have a city-provided container that our residents can call and obtain. Once that's full, they place it out next to their yard waste cart, since that is collected by the driver that has the yard waste truck. And that is serviced weekly as well.
Did you know that oil never wears out? It just gets dirty and can be cleaned and recycled over and over again. The city makes it easy to recycle by providing a container for used oil and a Ziploc bag to put your drained used oil filter in. And then you set them on the ground next to the yard waste container. Curbside recycling is important for us here in West Sacramento and for the planet Earth. So do your part. So, let's talk about the third part in the West Sacramento curbside lineup, yard waste. The grass never stops growing, but that's no reason to throw your clippings in the garbage. Let's see how yard waste can be recycled.
The last container we have is our yard waste container. This would be for brush trimmings, grass clippings, tree trimmings, as well as weeds and anything that grows in your yard. Something that we see a lot in here that's not acceptable is things like plastic plant containers and hoses. So those don't belong in here. Even though they are in your yard, they don't grow in your yard. So that's the key to remembering what goes in your yard waste container. It must grow in your yard. And another thing that we find in these containers that's unacceptable is animal feces, so cat or dog feces, belongs in your trash container, not in your yard waste container.
Okay, so you filled your yard waste container with only trimmings, clippings, and other stuff that grows in your yard. Did you know that all that stuff gets taken to a facility that processes it and turns it into a useful product? Take a look.
So once it's collected curbside in the city of West Sacramento from residents' containers, it's brought to our facility here in Sacramento, K&M Recycling. All of the green waste, as you can see back in the background, is dumped into a pile, one of the two piles, and it's mixed with wood and as an accelerant. And basically it's about 40% wood to the 60% green waste ratio. And then from there it's put through what we call a grinder and then screens, and it's turned into material that is then processed and sent off either as alternative daily cover for landfills or other types of spaces, or it's actually sent as fuel for biomass type of plant.
Wow, it's hard to believe that all of that used to be unwanted trimmings from neighborhood yards. Once processed, it looks like useful mulch.
So each day at a landfill site, you have to cover up the cell that you're working on as an environmental protection measure. And there's only certain material that can be placed on there. And this is the material that we produce here. Part of it can be used as that alternative daily cover each day. 75% of the material that's brought from West Sacramento ends up actually going to fuel and power. And it comes here, as I said, it's processed and it's turned into this biofueled product that's actually used to power either homes or electricity.
Biofuel. Now there's a word for you. That means a fuel made from yard waste or other natural source and not from fossil fuel, like oil from the ground.
Waste management is really in the business of diverting as much material away from landfills and reusing it as we can. And so by implementing green waste programs such as this, where you're taking the green waste out of the trash and waste, not sending it to a landfill, and actually turning it into a product that is either then reused as landscape or alternative daily cover for landfills, or actually used as a biofuel, is really important. And it takes this, scientific approach and process.
That's so cool. Oh, and if you want to create a green waste recycling effort right in your own backyard, contact the City of West Sacramento to receive your free copy of the Backyard Composting Guide. You'll learn how to turn yard trimmings into rich compost that can be used as a rich soil amendment. See, yard waste doesn't belong in the landfill. Recycle your yard waste at the curbside, and you'll be doing your part for our environment.